Welcome everybody. I will suggest the best camping locations for the following maps: Crash, Hovec Sawmill, Piccadilly, and Shoot House.
Crash.
Crash has one safe spot to camp, but two worthy mentioning to add to the list, if managed properly. Simply put, the best safe spot is the air conditioner shop at the beginning of the spawn point just north of the Killstreak store. Enemies only come up the stairway, so you can pretty much concentrate your firepower there and drop lethal equipment on the hordes of enemies trying to come up. You can also place a sentry gun at the top of the stairway to eliminate some enemies and stop the suicide bombers from getting past. There is a small balcony out front to attack the ground troops and helicopter transports. Be on the lookout for the roof on the building across, since enemies will climb up there to hide and aggressively attack and snipe you. One of the other two worth mentioning is the roof on the building right across. Ground enemies will only climb up the ladder, which should give you some time to take them out, especially the juggernauts. Plant proximity mines to stop the suicide bombers, but be on the lookout for the cargo helicopters. Destroy them before they hover above and begin deploying soldiers. The flaw with this site is that it isn't really that safe, since you will be exposed to attack helicopters and snipers from multiple directions. The good news is that you can instantly jump across to safety to the air conditioner shop. The other location worth mentioning is the burger joint on the 3-story building. You can camp on the roof and snipe out the ground soldiers. Ground enemies will rush from two locations, the stairway and the ladder. Also, be on the lookout for cargo helicopters hovering above, dropping off enemy soldiers as well. If the attack helicopter comes, you can head into the stairway or second floor for shelter. Enemies will intrude from two locations, so keep an eye out for the stairway and steps from outside. If you have 3 to 4 players camping here, you should be well fortified. The problem with this site is it's a bit of a sprint to the Killstreak store, which would even be more of a problem once the break time reduces to 20 seconds.
Hovec Sawmill.
There is no camping spot for a single entry for the enemies in this map. Many players would try to station at the burning barn, which, from my experience, is one of the worst spots to camp. The problem with this site is that there are multiple entries enemies will intrude, which can overwhelm even a full team, especially when the suicide bombers and juggernauts come to play. There is some hope, and it's the slaughterhouse by the Killstreak store. The camp spot is on the roof. There are two ways to get on the roof. Climb on the logs, or climb up the caged shelves. Just like with all campsites, make sure you have armor and ammo with you at all times. Enemies will attack from multiple locations, but they will only climb up where the logs are stacked, which makes it easier to focus your attention to secure this site, and it leaves them vulnerable as they try to climb up. Stay prone to minimize your chance of getting shot by ground enemies. Proximity mines, Semtex, thermite, and Molotov cocktails are highly recommended to eliminate or slow the attack. Heck, make it a cocktail party while you're at it with friends. Since it's out in the open, you're going to have to deal with the attack helicopters, or helos. I'll use helo since it's shorter to say. At the start of any wave, listen to the radio warning so you can be ready and attack the helo as soon as it arrives. Or start spraying bullets at it when you can see it coming and bring it down quickly before it unleashes its rain of bullets on its target. And make sure you have armor and ammo crates out so you can instantly refill when needed. The other option is temporary hide below until you have cleared the ground troops, then focus your attack on the helo. By hiding below, there are only two ways for the enemies to enter. There is a house that you can fortify as well, but it's a bit far from the killstreak store, and you will have to think about your break time being reduced to 20 seconds after clearing wave 55. The spot to camp is the bedroom, which enemies will enter from the window and the opening doorway. A full team of 4 or 2 can camp and defend this room if managed properly. Deployable cover will be suggested for this map since it can be effective in providing you some protection and change the flow of the enemy rush, which can make it easier for you to focus and manage. You can use these to protect you from gunfire or slow the pace of the game depending on where you place them. For the slaughterhouse on the roof, if planted properly in the exact spot, it can prevent enemies from climbing up, which allows you to focus more on targeting enemies rather than defending a rush. Just a fair warning, don't get too comfortable with these covers as they have time limits and enemies will try to break them. If slightly off, enemies will climb through the cover, rendering your cover useless. For the house, plant one at the doorway so you can focus more attention on the window. Sentry guns are effective here as well to stop the suicide bombers and if you prefer to play survival mode without the juggernaut suit. I highly recommend planting them near the garden and face them towards the burning barn. Make sure it has view and can target enemies coming out of the slaughterhouse door as well. Piccadilly. There's only one good place to camp which many players will default to, and that's the hip hop store. One player can snipe away from the second floor window, while the other 2 or 3 can camp on the main floor behind the cash registers. Enemies will only intrude from the 3 openings of the shop. You can plant deployable covers at the door leading to the stairway to temporarily prevent the enemies from rushing in, especially the suicide bombers and juggernauts. The problem here is that it super slows the pace of the game, which is fine for new players, but experienced to advanced players may find it boring. If you want to continue the fast, fun, and challenging pace of the game, load up on grenade crates and start lobbing lethal equipment such as thermite, Molotov cocktail, grenades, semtex, and proximity mines down the stairway to wreak havoc on these enemies. Like holy water to vampires, juggernauts hate Molotov cocktails. Placing sentry guns in the corner next to the registers is quite effective at distracting the juggernauts and suicide bombers. Shoot house. A small map that only has one spot to camp, and that's in this long trailer-like complex that, again, many players will default to. It requires at least 2 players to fortify this spot well, since there's only 2 entrances for the enemies, and that's on each end. There are no suicide bombers to worry about. The complex does provide some cover from enemy helos. As you advance in the waves and the number of enemy increases, you can plant sentry guns facing out at the top of the steps. You can place them outside facing towards the steps as well to distract and slow the hordes of enemies. If you have a lot of money, you can place one sentry gun facing the stairs while the other sentry gun facing out on top of the steps. Make sure to spot check on the steps in case any enemies come through. Sometimes things can go wrong where the players disconnect or need to quit the game, leaving you by yourself. If that does happen, place a deployable cover at one doorway to change the direction of the enemy attack. You want the enemies to flow through one direction so you can concentrate and eliminate them at a steady pace. Be aware that enemies with shotguns will try to destroy the cover, so check its status when you have the chance. That concludes this video. See you in the next episode.